Desperation brings out the greatness in some players. Ahead on SportsCenter as the Sabres stand on the brink of elimination, can the Dominator rise to the occasion? And could Woolley come up mammoth at just the right time? The NBA Finals about to begin, so just who is the favorite?
I consider us an underdog.
You're right. Yeah. So I don't buy any of that.
How long will Randy Johnson be in the Mariners dugout? How would he fare against his teammate, Junior? Couldn't do worse than the Orioles did. The Cardinals ponder life without McGuire, while we ponder whether there's any way to stop the Yankees. Turns out it can be done. It just requires some vertical ability. What once was old is new again in Milwaukee, while several NFL players start the search for new uniforms. It can get ugly in the heat of competition, so beware of flying debris. SportsCenter scrambles your way next.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to SportsCenter. Bill Pito along with Dave Rebson.
That is us. Ahead on the program, fights and lots of them. The Angels and Royals duke it out. Wait till you see this one. El Duque prepares to begin his career in the Bronx, while Bob Hartley gets the biggest break of his. But first to D.C., where the Caps were looking to break through.
Yeah, they've never done it before. The Washington Capitals have the dubious distinction of being in the league the longest without winning a conference title. 24 years, not a single appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals. And they've blown 3 3-1 series leads in the past 11 years. As Buffalo forward Dixon Ward says about the Caps, we've got them right where we want them. But Ward may not realize that no team has ever come back from 3-1 down to win a conference finals. Dominik Hasek making his 97th appearance this season. That includes the Olympics and the All-Star game. Daryl Shannon shot here for Buffalo. Fools Ole the goalie. First goal, Kozik's given up in 103 minutes, 58 seconds, 1-0 Buffalo. Still 1-0 Sabres, Caps power play. Richard Schmelik tries to clear. It ends up, though, on the stick of Nicolishin. Got a goal. We're tied at 1. Late first period, Caps shorthanded. Peter Bondra stopped. Hasek then makes the blocker save on Nicolishin. Tied at 1 after 1. Second period, things get rough. Ward gets hit by Zednik, and then Ward gets nailed, and really nailed, by Nicolishin. Hasek still strong. Watches Calle Johansson's shot. Goes up Hasek's sleeve. He's got something up his sleeve. It's the puck. He's able to turn that one away. Caps keep up the pressure. Adam Oates to Gonchar. Back to Oates. Robbed by Hasek. Watch this again as Hasek robs Oates with the blocker. Incredible. Third period tied at 1. Caps shorthanded. Joe Ricci, the great clear. Bondra on the loose. He's got 5 postseason goals. Had a 2-goal game the other night. Hasek, though, makes the pad save. More Caps. Hasek the save on Bondra, but Oates appears to stuff the rebound in. What do we have? We need a review. And the review shows nothing. Inconclusive. And the ruling is no goal. Hasek said afterwards he didn't know how he made some of these saves. Zednik breaks in alone. Hasek shuts the door. Zednik and the Caps frustrated. Under 5 to go. Sabres get a chance. Woolley, a one-time Caps defenseman, carries from his own zone, makes a great move, beats over the goalie. The defenseman, Jason Woolley, puts the Sabres up 2-1. The Sabres love it, and Hasek and the Sabres survive as Buffalo wins it by the final score of 2-1. So after losing 3 in a row, Hasek called himself Swiss cheese. There weren't any holes in this one as he made 34 saves. Bondra, Joey Juneau, and Adam Oates combined for 17 of Washington's 35 shots. Buffalo only had 16 shots as a team, their fewest this year in the playoffs. But it's Buffalo that survives.
Every save is very important, it really doesn't matter if it's spectacular save or average save, Most important, I gave up only 1 goal, and Washington goalie gave up 2 goals.
He's unbelievable. Pretty much every night he comes up with some big saves for us. You can't really pick one save that stands out, but he just seems to give us that edge, and he keeps us in the game. And tonight, if it wasn't for him, we're not in that game.
It's obviously frustrating. You got to think about it a little bit. We're all going to have dreams tonight about the chances we missed, myself included. I missed a beauty, and you got to shake it off.
Game 6 is Thursday night in Buffalo, and that may be a good thing for the Caps, who have been much better on the road this postseason than at home. The loss dropping the Caps to just 5-4 at home, while they're 6-1 away from the MCI Center. Game 6 Thursday night right here, ESPN, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
A couple of days ago, Randy Johnson was reportedly heading to the Dodgers in exchange for Hideo Nomo and Todd Hollandsworth. On Tuesday, Johnson was supposedly headed to L.A. again. this time in exchange for pitcher Ishmael Valdez and utility man Wilton Guerrero. Well, guess who's still a Mariner? Clearly, it's just a matter of time until the big unit leaves Seattle, but Tuesday was not that time.
On the Randy Johnson front, after I told the team that we were no longer in pursuit, came out of the meeting with the players, called up to my office to get my list of phone calls. Among those calls was a call from Woody Woodward saying that they had no plans to trade Randy Johnson.
As for the Mariners' version of the story, Seattle team president Chuck Armstrong issued a statement Tuesday night responding to what he called unsubstantiated rumors. Said Armstrong, Randy will pitch for the Mariners throughout this season. We have no plans to trade Randy Johnson, at least until next week. Meanwhile, the games go on. Claire's Dodgers hosting the Cards, who are without the injured Mark McGwire out with back spasms. Bottom of the second, 1-0 L.A. Charles Johnson at the plate. Charles Johnson taking Ken Merker deep to left, a 2-run homer. It's 10th of the season, third in his last 5 games. He's caught fire. It's 3-0 L.A. Top 5, Cards trail 4-2, but threatening. Base juice. There, your visual proof. Gary Gaetti taking Darren Tryford the other way. Brings home Delano to Shields and Brian Jordan. We are tied at 4. That Gaetti's only hit of the game. Top of the 8th, we're still tied. Tryford done after allowing 2 base runners. Jim Bruschi on in relief. Brian Jordan, be seeing it. A 3-run homer. Tryford, bomb it. Jordan's 9th of the year. He was 2 for 4. Cards win it by the final of 7-4, snapping their 3-game losing streak and extending LA's skid to 4. Tryford does absorb the loss despite a career-high 8 Ks. On the flip side, he also issued a career-high 6 walks. The Cards' Brian Jordan visited some folks at Chargers headquarters Monday. He said he is still not ruled out a return to football. Battle of first-place clubs as the Padres host Houston. Ken Caminiti out with back spasms. Back spasms all the rage on Tuesday. Bottom of the 4th, it's Greg Vaughn. Deep and gone. A solo shot, his 18th. He has homered in each of the last 10 series. Top of the 5th, same score, Jeff Bagwell. A solo shot off Mark Langston, his 8th homer. Bagwell 2 for 4 in the game. Astros down 3-1. Top 7, it's 3-2. Brian Boehringer struggling. Tony Eusebio, the grounder up the middle, brings home Bagwell and Moises Alou as the Astros rally to win it 4-3. Billy Wagner picking up his 15th save. He and Reynolds combined to retire the final 13 San Diego batters. Reynolds continues to sparkle 4-0 in his last 5 starts. It'll be Sean Bergman against Joey Hamilton as the series continues on a Wednesday.
Orlando Hernandez was all dressed up, but it turns out he had no place to go. The older half-brother of Florida's Levon Hernandez, Orlando was called up by the Yanks from AAA Columbus for Tuesday night's game against Chicago. If David Wells couldn't pitch, Hernandez would make his first major league start. He suited up, primed and ready, but Wells was well enough to pitch, shaking off the effects of a stiff shoulder. So Hernandez didn't get in. White Sox down 1-0. Wells on the hill. Albert Bell, his 12th home run of the year. He would also add his 13th of the year. He had 2 home runs in the game. Bottom 3, tied up at 1. It's Jorge Posada. Center, Mike Cameron. Going back to the track, back to the wall, and that is thievery. Watch this. Mike Cameron. As Posada couldn't believe it. Cameron with a spectacular effort. Take the homer away. Bottom 5, Yanks down 2-1, 2 outs. Tim Raines on third. Scott Brocious to short. Mike Caruso fields it in the hole. Throw to short. Or Will Cordero at first, I should say, is short. Tim Raines scores. Keep in mind, Chicago's got the worst defense in the entire league. Knobloch, the grounder to second. Ray Durham. Whoops! Everybody's safe. Next man up, Derek Jeter. It's a 3-run home run with the score tied at 2. His 8th of the year puts the Yanks up by the score of 5-2. And the Yanks go on to win by the final count of 6-3. Wells going 8 innings for his 8th win of the season. Yanks have now won 10 of their last 11 against the White Sox. Paul O'Neill hit his 5th homer in the game for the Yanks. And as it turns out, Orlando Hernandez will start after all Wednesday night for the Yanks because David Cohn's right index finger, yes, bitten by his mother's dog. Cohn says the injury isn't serious, but Hernandez will get the start. He's gone 6-0 so far this season at AAA Columbus. Angels and the Royals, bring your seatbelts, everybody. Top of the 5th, 2-1 Angels. Tim Salmon against Chris Taney. That's an opposite drive to right, and it's gone. 12th of the year, 3-1 Angels. 2 batters later, Phil Nevin is up. Nevin hit in the back by Chris Haney. Now, at this point, you're not thinking anything's that big a deal. Nothing erupts. Both managers are calm. No ejections at this point. Nevin, though, up in the 7th. Jim Pitchley hits him. Here we go. Uh-oh. Look at that. That's a takedown there. Benches would clear. This was the beginning of a messy, messy evening. Pitchley would be ejected, and after order was restored, Nevin would also be ejected. Bottom of the 8th, 7-1 Angels. Rich DeLucia hits Dean Palmer. Now, at this point, DeLucia's ejected, and Terry Collins is ejected. Still with us, top of the 9th. Darren Erstad facing Scott Service. Whoops! Gary DiSarcina, we make this warning. Don't read DiSarcina's lips. Don't read them. Tony Muser is ejected by the umps, the Kansas City manager. Nothing out of the ordinary here. At least no punches thrown. So Muser's thrown out at this point. Bottom 9, Angels up 7-2. Mike Holtz pitching. Throws inside to Jose Offerman. Holtz gets ejected. Here come the bullpen. Troy Percival leading the charge out of the Anaheim bullpen. Showing some great speed, I might add. The bench is clear again. Look at that massive humanity. Now watch Felix Martinez. 1995, he was thrown out of 13 games in the minors. Earlier this year, remember, he broke Otis Nixon's jaw. He made the sucker punch, and this caused the most significant action of the entire evening. This was incredible. Martinez chased by everybody. Jack McDowell's on the DL, and he even got into this. Martinez is backpedaling. Angels going all over him. DiSarcina chased him. Everybody chased him. Muser then takes Martinez to the clubhouse. Cecil Fielder. You don't want to mess with Big Cecil. He's having some words. My heavens. It finally ended, and Anaheim won by the score of 7-5. So in summation, 4 beanballs, 2 bench-clearing brawls, 12 ejections. 7 players, both managers, 3 coaches thrown out. And all this with AL President Gene Budick in attendance. After the game, he had no comment. Jared Washburn goes 6 1/3 in his Major League debut, oh, by the way, to get his first win.
The last time the Bulls were in the NBA Finals and didn't have the home court advantage was in 1993 against the Suns. They proceeded to win the first 2 games in Phoenix en route to a 6-game series win. Larry Bird, for one, thinks the lack of a home court won't hurt Chicago this year either. The Pacers coach said the Bulls have an excellent chance of stealing a game in Utah. But what do the parties involved think? Well, good question.
We got to prove that we can win on the road, against a team who's earned the best record in the league and beaten us twice in the course of the season.
Now, even though they have home court advantage, we feel like that, this is our time to go out and prove that we can win a series without having a home court advantage.
The first game is important. We realize how important it is. I feel that that's the game they want. Of course, they want both of them, but if you had them to say, I think they realize that the first game is important as well as important to us. But I also feel as a player that if we can take care of business in the first game, I think our rest would kick in the longer the series goes.
We'll have much more on the build-up to Game 1 of the NBA Finals a little bit later in the show as Dan Patrick and the gang join us from Salt Lake City.
Venus Williams says she'll be #1 in the world in the near future. Current #1, Martina Hingis, says she doesn't consider Williams a legitimate rival. 2 17-year-olds who should be getting ready for the end-of-the-year prom, instead playing in the French Open for a spot in the semis. The French is the only Grand Slam Hingis did not win last year. Williams here serving to Hingis. During this match, Williams would make 38 unforced errors, and she said afterward that she wasn't as patient as she should have been. Hingis won the first set 6-3. In the second set, Hingis at the far court. Venus tries to come in again off the serve, but Martina just overpowers her right there. Hingis advances easily, 6-3, 6-4. So Hingis and Monica Seles will meet now in the semifinals for the 2nd straight year, as Seles is victorious over Yana Novotná. The other semi will pit Lindsay Davenport against Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, who has won this tournament twice before. With Davenport and Seles in the semis, 2 American women make the French Final Four for the first time since 1987. Davenport beat the defending champ Eva Maioli, and we'll have a rundown of the men activity later in the show.
A nostalgic night in Milwaukee as the Braves and Brewers turn back the clock, begging the question of why no one was wearing an old Seattle Pilots uni. Actually, the year was 1958, and the highlights are ahead. The Mets and the Pirates visited by one of the 10 plagues, and it wasn't boils or vermin. We'll fill you in on which one it was. How much will it take for Andre Rison to continue plaguing opposing defensive backfields? Some thoughts on that ahead. Plus, Michael and the Bulls shoot for number 6. More NBA Finals info coming your way. You're immersed in SportsCenter.
There'll come a day when you can take your sweet time getting into your own photograph. Fujifilm's Smart Endeavor 3500 IX camera. Just one reason why that day is today.
In Chicago, you met with investors. In Atlanta, you met with the board. In Palm Springs, you met with the tall, frozen glass. In over 100 locations, where there's a Wyndham, there's a way.
Ford Expedition, built Ford tough.
Has he noticed a change? Can he tell I'm obsessed? I can't stop thinking about it. I must know what's going on. Talk to me.
For James Kramer, Herb Greenberg, and addictive financial news you can't get anywhere else, hit thestreet.com. It's free for 2 weeks. After that, you're on your own.
Kramer, you bad boy.
TheStreet.com. Blah, blah, blah. Not.
Beauty, adventure, drama. All these and more can be yours in the wonderful world of art. And with this free art test from Art Instruction Schools, you can find out if you have the interest and desire needed to become a serious art student. To get your free art test without cost or obligation, call this toll-free number. Don't delay. Call this toll-free number now. Call 1-800-633-3400.
Baseball in Milwaukee has finally come full circle. It all started when the Braves left Milwaukee for Atlanta after the 1965 season. The Brewers were then born in 1970. The circle started to close when the Brewers returned to the National League prior to this season, and the circle fully closed Monday night with the Braves returning to Milwaukee to play the Brewers. And total confusion for Game 2 of the series with Atlanta wearing Milwaukee's 1950